Alrighty, very happy Friday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is May 1st of 2026. How is everyone doing here on a Friday? It's kind of gloomy outside. It's kind of been that way for this past week. Um, isn't it funny how the Cincinnati Reds schedule just kind of coincides with the weather? Especially over this past year. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that whenever the Reds go out of town and they go on this road stance, the weather usually ends up raining, snowing. Uh, just it doesn't seem fair to play, and so the Reds really don't have to face a whole lot of that, weather dilemma, which I think we've been lucky over throughout the past couple of years. I know last weekend against the Tigers, we had a couple hours of rain delays, but it's funny how things kind of just coincide with each other. But today, the Reds are out of town. They have a very big stretch of 7 games on the road, 3 against Pittsburgh, 4 against Chicago, and if we have been claiming that there's been a true test to this Reds schedule in the month of April, well, now there is a true test because we are going up against the division. And we've already had 3 games against Pittsburgh that we didn't do well against. So we're looking to turn things around. But this is our second time through any series playing our division. And, you know, if we could walk away with a 4-3 record and say over the next 7 games that we could at least beat our division, that means taking 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh and possibly splitting the Chicago Cubs series. If we could do any of that, then it's a win for me. Um, I really don't. You can't. The Reds have had a lot of success this April, and we cannot allow it to start trickling down heading into this new month, all because we're playing divisional opponents. And that's kind of been the highlighted news. So yesterday we wrapped up a 3 game series against the Colorado Rockies. We found ourselves on Wednesday losing to the Rockies by 11 games, and I think that's a rare thing to see with how good we have been playing. But we were able to come back in the rubber game series yesterday, picked up a 6-4 win against the Rockies, and we picked up the series victory. That concludes a home stands where we have gone 4-2, which I think is a tremendous win. Also finishes us off with a 20+ win in the month of April, and immediately you get people saying that, "Oh, yeah, the Reds haven't done this since 2006. They're 9 games above 500. They're 7-3 over the last 10 games. They have a -3 run differential. They find themselves 15-16 against winning record teams. They moved to 10-8 on at home, and they're about to begin 7 games on the road where they are 10-3. So I think they found more success on the road, but the challenge is that it's against their division. They hold a game above the Chicago Cubs, who begin a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks this weekend. Pittsburgh has trickled down into last place. They are 16-16 at 500. You know that there is a gripe to this series. I think that the Pirates and the Red series, especially with how it ended off last earlier this month, um, it carries over. And this is where Pittsburgh could come back in a series win or even a sweep and lengthen the separation they have in the division. Currently 4.5 games back of the NL Central. Well, they can, if Chicago doesn't do well this weekend and St. Louis doesn't do well, they take on the Dodgers. If Milwaukee doesn't do well, this could be a whole new tell of the take come Monday morning. So, uh, you know, it's great. It's great for competition in April because I think in baseball there's a lot of uh, fans that don't quite tune in or pay attention, and a lot of people are saying, look, this is April baseball. We're just in May. What's the big deal? Come back and talk to me when we're in July. Well, as a baseball fan as I am, we take a look at every series, and rightfully so. The Reds are playing great baseball. Let's give them credit where credit's due. But every series, every at bat means something to this Reds organization, especially if our goal should be let's comfortably, not just on edge and pray that our answers are met come September and come playoff time. We have a gripe to get back to the playoffs, and it starts now. And every series, including the ones in April, mean a lot. Now look at this, okay? The Reds, okay? Let's look at the Cincinnati Reds in this first month of play, because I'll tell you this: the Reds have had everything thrown to them to really hurt them. Now, I'm not saying no other ball club has gone through some sort of dilemma early on. I've seen plenty of ball clubs early on in the month of April deal with situations. But what I'm pointing out here is that we start ourselves back at in the middle of March, where Hunter Green goes out and he has to have surgery. So he's out until July. Okay. Nick Lodolo is out until with a blister, and he's been dealing with that injury all month long. Caleb Ferguson is out with an injury. Jose Trevino went down with an injury, and then Gino Suarez just this past week went down with an injury. There is our own fair share because we're asking as players are getting hurt, we're asking people to step up to the plate. We're asking our guys down in AAA to be ready to go. And that's great. We need these guys ready to go. There's no questions asked. But then you learn and discover that Brandon Williamson is now placed on the 15-day IL. I guess he's a bit fatigued. And, some people were asked, oh, why is he fatigued? We're only a month into the season. Let's remember this kid hasn't pitched in nearly a year. He's coming off of a Tommy John surgery. And the workload has been asked upon to take pressure off the bullpen to really eat up innings. And it doesn't help when you attract a lot of walks in the pitcher. So, and I get it. I think heading into the month of April, I would be on the cautious side of the workload that we put on our rotation. We are asking him to fill in big shoes. Now, this also goes back around to where do we utilize our rotation at? For example, I expect a lot more out of Brady Singer and Andrew Abbott. Now, over the past outing or so, they made better strides in better outings. But early on, they really struggled with getting solid outings early on. I need our rotation to focus in on not giving up so many walks. I rather have them giving up hits. I guess the only credit to giving up walks is that you control the runners on base instead of hits and scoring them in. You're pitching them very cautiously, which then redirects the Reds' explanation on winning because we have won a lot of very close games. As a matter of fact, I think I read somewhere where the Reds have won 10 or 12. They are 12-0 in what, 1 or 2 run score games. And it hasn't really become transparent until this recent uh, road stands, where we started pulling away back on April 19th, a 7-4 win, a 6-1 win, a 12-6 win. You got 9-2 win over the Tigers last weekend, 7-2 and 6-4. At some point, there is that level of stress, of anxiety, of stress, and I get that this is what a ball player is, but we got to find those separations first and foremost when it comes down to this team. So, um, you know, it's a great month. I think we can reflect a lot back on this season, on this month of April. And I tell you, I've been telling you all month long, and I'll continue to tell you that it's going to be memories and moments like this in the month of April that we're going to look back on and reflect that will determine if we make it to the playoffs or not. One of the big moments that we paid attention to, okay, one of the big moments that I kinda take away in the month of April has to come from Nathaniel Lowe, okay? Nathaniel Lowe, he got penciled into the lineup, over the weekend against the Tigers. Gino Suarez went down with an injury, and, uh, he hit a home run Friday night. As a matter of fact, it was a walk-off home run after a rain delay, and after being down in the ninth inning, he hits a walk-off home run. So, to fill in some big shoes, walk-off home run, there you go. Um, then his first at bat on Saturday, home run. Despite losing on, Sunday, he hit a home run straight away to center. So filling in some big shoes, some great success, that is going to be a moment where I'm gonna reflect a lot on in the month of April. That's going to be a reflection for how the Reds have played thus far this season. Now, any what about players? What Reds player has really pointed out in your direction and stuck out this year? Sal Stewart got off to a really good start. Really love what he's been capable of doing. He fits right there comfortably in the lineup along with, uh, in between Cruz, in between Suarez. He fits well in that cleanup spot. I figured, at the beginning of the season, I was worried that maybe the cleanup spot is putting a lot of would put a lot of pressure on him. I was worried, that it was going to get him and it was gonna affect his performance, but he's filled in like he's been there. Like, he belongs at that spot of the lineup, and it's worked quite well. Couple of key players I've been looking out for. JJ Bleday just got called up, hit a home run on Sunday. Looking for him to establish himself. That's gonna be a good question to ask. When Gino does come back, what is the next decision, and who do you send down to put Gino back on top? Do you send Bleday down if he's performing well? Yeah, you're taking a left-handed batter. You put in a left-handed batter that was coming off the bench in Nathaniel Lowe. But when Gino comes back and he's placed back in the lineup, unless you're moving Stewart to second, you still got to you want Stewart in that lineup too. So Lowe goes back to the bench, in my opinion, which means if you keep Bleday and you keep Lowe, not only that creates an extra left-handed batter in that line, coming off the bench, which means the only other tailored option is to send Reese Hines down to AAA. So, what does his performance look like? I know that since getting called down or sent down to the Louisville, the LV Marte is looking pretty good. I wouldn't jump so quickly to even eager to bring them back up either. So if you send down, 1 or 2 people, I, you know, we, I'm very hesitant on wanting to promote somebody else at the moment. I like to give Blade his fair share. Maybe send Reese Hines back down, but that creates the controversy. Love to see what Terry Francona does in that situation. Let's also point out Terry Francona. You know, I haven't necessarily seen anyone give days off yet. That's something I'm still waiting for, and I hope that, especially in this stretch, in this upcoming month to begin May, we do fit some of that stuff in. We're about to begin 10 games in a row. We just got off of 3. 7 of those 10 games will be on the road, so I'm hoping that Suarez or, not Suarez, but, Stewart and Cruz can find some time off to take, get off the bench, maybe DH a little bit. But, I do really do figure, that we do see that, but Terry Francona's, implemented some of his work early on. He's like, "Look, if we're gonna win, we need people to contribute all around, and if you are not contributing, we gotta put you in a place where you can contribute, and we gotta bring up who can." Okay, so, we saw that Marte got sent down. I think it really shocked a little bit of us, early on to see. You don't really see like that coming from, a manager perspective early on unless it's due with injuries, but hell, we've seen managers get released, not even a month into the season. So, uh, I'm not, saying anything against it. It's just something new that we are not used to seeing, watching here. Great start to the season. I really like what the Reds are doing. Like I said, they about to begin a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They'll be at PNC Park this evening. Begin the series first pitch at 7:45. You can watch, this game on Apple TV or listen to it on WOW. Man, not really too big fan about Apple TV. I don't have that subscription. It kinda takes away from purchasing Reds.TV for, all the Reds game, but I've definitely been utilizing it. They'll be back again on Saturday, first pitch at 4:05, and then they'll be back on a wrap up a 3-game series on Sunday, first pitch at 1:35. They'll head over to Wrigley Field in Chicago, to begin a 4-game series against the Cubs beginning Monday, before coming back home on Friday to host the Astros. So, Reds, really had themselves, out there. The question is going to be, when it comes back around, I guess, like I said, Brandon Williamson dealing with some fatigueness. Um, he was placed on the 15-day IL. I don't know. I think they brought up, let's see the transactions here. They made the transactions, apparently, it was actually done yesterday. There we go. So they called up Zach Maxwell, um, and for those who question the whole, I guess, situation with Graham Ashcraft, he was placed on a bereavement list. He wasn't put on an IL. He's dealing with a personal family matter. Terry Francona, very empathetic about it. So he let them, hey, we'll take care of the rest. You go take care of your personal issues. Apparently, it's been bothering Graham Ashcraft tremendously. And then they recalled Luis May up to from Louisville. My question is to see you have a couple of days, which I believe you have until Tuesday. Um, you have today, tomorrow. Yeah, you have until Tuesday before Brandon Williams' spot has to fit back into place. I'm hoping at least, that we see the Nick Lodolo, who's supposed to get another start here, hopefully today, and possibly be ready to fill in that position. It looks like, from my understanding, from what I've heard, Nick Lodolo has been dealing with an injury with his blister in his finger, and is coming from the way he holds his slider, which isn't a traditional way. He holds it more on the raw hide of the ball compared to the stitching of the ball, which then every time it heals, and blisters could take a while to heal, and he just re-aggravates it every time. Now he was able to go a bit further into his last outing, something that he's gonna just probably have to deal with because it may take all the summer for them to really be able to, you know, put that, to heal, have that heal properly. But we really at this not time, unless you decide, hey, we're gonna maybe bring up Chase Petty or Julian Aguirre, which I don't see that they re-signed Zach Maxwell. You're gonna wait for that decision to be ultimately determined heading into heading into the final day. So Monday or Tuesday, we may see a transaction. I think we're hoping for Nick Lodolo. Excuse me, but we really just have to wait and see. The Let's take a look at what's going on over throughout the week here. We had a couple of four-game series. The Pirates and Cardinals, they took their series on Monday. Cardinals won. Cubs lost on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we saw the Cardinals beat the Pirates 11-7 on Wednesday. Thursday, or as a matter of fact, Thursday, the Cardinals beat the Pirates 10-5. You look at the National League Central standings, and you look at the 18-13 Cardinals. Man, you got to say they're playing really good baseball, right? 18 wins. That's better than the second place team, Miami Marlins, in the NL East, and then even right up there with the San Diego Padres, who are 19-11. So this Central still is really dominant. Like heading into May, great competition. Just in configuration, we're having a better record than the AL West, who even has the Athletics leading that division with the 7-14 record. They are a game and a half above the Seattle Mariners. Still better record. 16-16 finds themselves the same record for the Pittsburgh Pirates as the Cleveland Guardians, and we're just right up there with the AL East. You think about this, the best record in baseball is the Atlanta Braves with 22 victories. We're right behind them with 20-11. We're tied with the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees. Two of the best teams or profound best teams in all of baseball today at the end of April. We are standing toe to toe with them as well. So very impressive, great things to be hyped about here. But we begin a three-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. First pitch at 6:45 p.m. Then we have Milwaukee over in Washington. Their first pitch is at 6:45. We also see then the Dodgers over in St. Louis to face on the Cardinals. Love that series whenever that series gets a chance to happen. First pitch 8:15, and then the where do we have it? Do we have, is that it? Where's the Cubs at? Cubs actually play at 2:20 this afternoon. They take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. A series that I'm kind of looking ahead. You got the first place Guardians taking on the first place Athletics in their division. First pitch 9:40 tonight. That's going to be a good series to kind of look out for and to pay attention to. That's kind of the only series that really draws my attention, to be honest, here heading into the weekend. Sunday night baseball, we have the Texas Rangers taking on the Detroit Tigers. First pitch at 7:20. That's available on Peacock. So that is your baseball National League look around here. Couple interesting stories coming out of Major League Baseball's website, MLB.com. An article that was titled, it basically took a look at the um, where the playoff pitchers would stand as of today, heading into April 1st, if the season would have come to an end. And so let's take a look at the American League. If the season ended today, and based off the standings this morning, the Yankees and the A's, Yankees would be number one, the A's will be number two. They would have the buys, while the wild card matchups would be the Tigers versus the Guardians, with the Tigers at in Cleveland. Mariners on the road against the Rays. You'd have the Orioles and Rangers just missed about a half a game back. The run it back Yankees right where you expect him, despite some wondering whether um, they did enough bolster to the roster this past offseason. The club currently sharing a bye status with the Yanks in the AL. The A's, a young team that has been impressive this early on. Some remarkable stuff. So just think about that. The 6 teams would be the Rays, the Mariners, the Guardians, the Tigers, the A's, and Yankees. 2 teams from each division. In the National League, you would have. I kind of really don't want to give predictions, I guess. Um, Basically, they kind of previewed the divisional series where the winners of the Mariners and Rays will go on to New York and face the Yankees, as the winners of the Tigers and Guardians will go on to take on the A's. In the National League, the Braves and the Dodgers have the first round byes, with the Braves at number 1, Dodgers at number 2. The Cardinals will be in Cincinnati to take on the Reds, as the Cubs take on the Padres. The Brewers and the D-backs are just a game and a half back. The winner of the Cubs and Padres take on the Braves. The winner of the Cardinals and Reds take on the Dodgers. So if you're a Reds fan, you take on the wild card series, you take on the Yankees if the playoffs will start today. And if you could prevail the Cardinals, you get back to the Dodgers. And I don't know when is a perfect time to face the Dodgers heading into the postseason. I'm most definitely not certain in the divisional round. If you can, probably the longest if you can wait off. But, this is that ultimate revenge because they knocked us out and shut us out 3-0. So, just let's play a little bit devil's advocate here early on and have some fun with it. Wouldn't you say? Alrighty. Also coming from Major League Baseball, we also got to turn our attention to moving ahead. May. Okay. What does the Reds have in May to pay attention to? Well, I think, as we mentioned here at the beginning of the hour, the biggest series I think they're going to face right now is going to be the Pirates and the Cubs. Anything that is going to be within their stretch and in their division is going to be a tough mark to face. Like I said, we didn't do so well. We lost 2 out of 3 at home, by the way, against the Pirates. We're looking to kind of return the favor here in this series, but then also go into Chicago. Now, we've faced some really good teams. We've beaten some Cubs in the past, but the series against the Rockies indicate win games that you should be winning. Okay, it's the cliche statement that you say everywhere you go in whatever sport you say. Win games that you should be winning. And then you go into, well, all right, especially when you're division. And right now, the Pirates indicated that they are a tough team. They kind of mellowed out. They're playing 500 baseball. The Cubs are right there behind us. And, the Cubs and the Pirates early on can change the faith over the next series or 2. So whatever we could do to take 4 out of 3 here in this 7-game stretch on the road, and then we would have a 9-game stretch after a day off on the May 11th, take on the Nationals, take on the Guardians on the road to Cleveland, on the road to Philadelphia. We'll come back home for 3 games, after a day off. This is what I don't get. We'll come back home to host the Cardinals at the end of the month before in a 3-game over the weekend series before going out to New York to face on the Mets. And then we'll come back home to wrap up the month of May against the Braves. We'll have 3 days off this month. So it's going to be a little bit more of our kind of gripe month, if you so to speak. Like I said, the transition is to move everything forward. But what are questions heading into the month of May for Major League Baseball? What are questions for the Cincinnati Reds? Do you have any questions? Well, one, I really do want to see. I want to see 2 things happen. One, I think we need to see Suarez back in this lineup. Okay, I hope it's not serious. I mean, I don't care if you're taking a few extra days, but by May 15th, I really want you back in this lineup. On second thought, I want Nick Lodolo back in this lineup in the rotation as well. We haven't seen the best from Ellie De La Cruz yet, and I also want to see the cut down of the walk ratio that the Reds have given. So, what are your thoughts and questions for the Cincinnati Reds heading into the month of May? Can the Astros, Mets, Phillies, Reds, Red Sox all turn it around? The Mets are 10-21 with the minus 35 run differential. The Angels are 12-20. They started off to a good start, but now they find themselves just 8 games minus 500. And you know what? I more of an expectation and anticipation. The Angels seem to maybe always get off to a good start, to kind of die out. They kind of got some games away from them. For me, it's about utilizing what you have in Mike Trout. And if Mike Trout's on that field, you really have to be playing really good baseball. And if you're telling me Mike Trout hasn't been on the field for 20 of those 32 games, then I think there's a big problem. Okay. The Astros, not the same team as we expected them to be. I think a lot of people are moving away from the Astros here. And I think this year has told it. They're a negative 26 in run differentials. The Phillies, who lost their manager, Rob Thompson, just a week earlier this week, are 12-19, minus 45. And where do you start to begin? Because I feel like they have a really good organization up front on the field. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, they have the peak players, but they just can't execute. The Red Sox taking that shift. They let go Alex Cora last weekend. And unfortunately, that's another organization. I feel like that organization honestly started a few last year. So could they make a turnaround? That's a huge question. Another question, will another American League team separate itself from the pack? I mean, you're already seeing the Yankees up high, the Tigers trying to separate. This is the month of May, and I would also say the month of June, our month where you're going to start seeing the teams that are already weighing themselves out of the playoffs and the teams that are looking to be serious contenders based off of their performance. So how serious is my Mariners in this? How serious are the Rays and the Twins? And you're going to start identifying, all right, who's in the hunt and who's not. Another big question, just for Major League Baseball in general, can Mason Miller continue his pace? His pace of 34 2/3 of an inning came to an end earlier this week against the Chicago Cubs on a controversial, well, it wasn't a controversial foul play, but that inning led to the Cubs scoring in some runs. Now, Mason Miller was able to get out of it. He was able to win the game for the Padres. And, everyone's going to kind of tell you that was the tale of the take, and it's all about winning and helping your ball club win. But you can't help to say that, hey, and sitting alone as a leading Padres record of scoreless innings, and then also coming close to setting the all-time in Major League Baseball, that momentum kind of keeps into it. Mason Miller, 53%. All right, best strikeouts rate month as a reliever in baseball history, minimum of 15 innings. In April of 2026, the Padres' Mason Miller is at 53.7%. In April of 2018, Rockies' Adam Ottavino had 54.5. Eric Gagne with the Dodgers in 2003 of August had 54.8. Corey Knebel with the Brewers in September of 2020 or 2018 had 57.9. And then Josh Hader with Milwaukee has 62.9% in April 2018. So that is an elite list. Keep it up. Another question I'd be asking myself: which surprise team will keep it up? The White Sox are 14-17. Um, they've lost a total of 223 games between 2024 and 2025. The Rockies are 14-18, already a vast improvement compared to last year. They were 14 and 15, 57. The Nationals, after losing at least 91 games every year from 2021 to 2025, is coming off to a 15-17 start, which is a good average. And they're averaging about 5.5 runs a game. Only the Braves have a better one with the 5.53. And then the Marlins, the teams that you really don't expect much from. And early on, like I said, there are teams out there that get off to a really good start, but they kind of slack off towards the end. But who can maintain that as well? Cardinals is another one. Just the shift change in their roster in the way that they were wanting to reestablish themselves. Great. Um, Last but not least, and something to keep in the back of your mind, maybe it's not as important now to you as it will be probably coming up next spring. But what news will CBA talks bring to the table? Well, we know that the CBA agreement needs to come to a decision by next spring in order to get the 2027 MLB season on track for a regular start. There's already speculations that the butting of heads are going to cause a lockdown, and I think that's something that we do not need or do not want. MLB and MLB Players Associations are expected to begin discussions and new collective bargaining agreement this month. The new deal will not be reached. That much we know. We could start to get some news about what is each side is pushing for. How Doug are the owners of getting a salary cap, and do players really want to earn early arbitration or even higher than a minimum salary? So we're going to get an idea of what each side wants coming up in this month, probably even next month. And I don't expect any push in the conversations, but we want to start to analyze what is the priorities, what are these big bubbles that are going to take longer to execute, and maybe knock out some of the simpler ones early on. But the CBA expires on December 1st. And as a baseball fan, you gotta have hopes at least that the both team parties can at least begin and have some sort of conversation and come close. It would be injustice if we go into this next into December and we are not even close to a decision or some sort of agreement. So, what are you guys looking into heading into the month of May when it comes down to Major League Baseball? Cincinnati Bearcats are in Houston, Texas, at the Daryl and Lori Schroeder Park to take on Houston. This game will be played on May 2nd. The Bearcats, I thought it was a 3-game series. Let me recap. It is a 3-game. Nope, that was earlier this month. Last month actually. They are yep. So it's a double header, I believe, maybe due to weather. I don't know why. But to my understanding, the Cincinnati Reds, who are ranked number 23 in the top 25 poll of college basketball or baseball, they are taking on on Houston in Big 12 Conference. Back in March, the Bearcats hosted um, since Houston, and they took the series. They took 2 out of 3. The biggest game was on Saturday where they beat Houston 20-10. They put up a total of 44 runs compared to the 27 Houston provided. This coming up series is the beginning of the wind down as the Bearcats only have 3 more opponents following this weekend. One against Oral Roberts next Tuesday in Oklahoma, and then they would go on to Kansas State and Texas Tech over the next 2 weeks. to wrap up their 2026 season. Well, no game today. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. first pitch, and then the doubleheader is scheduled immediately following, and then they'll wrap up the three-game series on a 2 o'clock first pitch on Sunday. Like I said, this is a three-game series. Right, the Bearcats are ranked number 23. Like to keep a pay attention to that ending into it. They're all three games are available on ESPN Plus. So you could check your local listings for Bearcats baseball. But it's great to have the Bearcats in winning ways. Quentin Coates, another home run this weekend, possibly. And even a stretch to make their case for a playoff run in hope in perspectives. So go Bearcats. NBA continues as we are wrapping up round number one here over the next couple of days. Yesterday, the New York Knicks solidified their advancements, defeating the Hawks 140-89. They took the series a 4-2 win. The 76ers have came back to tie the series 106-103 in a victory last night. The series will come to game number 7 as they are tied 3 apiece. The Minnesota Timberwolves have took in the series and beat the Denver Nuggets with a final of 2-4 in the series after beating them last night 110-98. Today, NBA games continue in round number one, and it's an Amazon night. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can check out these games. First tip-off is at 7 p.m. against the Detroit Pistons and Orlando Magic. The Magic leads with a 3-2. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors will tip off at 7:30. Cleveland heads in with a lead of 3-2. And at 9:30, the Lakers, who have a 3-2 lead over the Rockets, tip off at 9:30. Lakers concealed with a victory tonight. Tomorrow, we will only have one game on NBC at 7:30 tip-off time. The grand finale, Game 7 of this series between the 76ers and the Celtics. Those games scheduled has been yet confirmed for Sunday, all pending the results of tonight's outcome. You can find more of that information by joining CBSSports.com. The 152nd Kentucky Derby will take place this weekend at the Churchill's Down in Louisville, Kentucky. It comes with a $5 million purse. Coverage begins at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC and Peacock, with the main race expected around 6:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Top contenders include Renegade, Commandment, and Chief Wallaby. Who are your lucky picks and horses going into this year's Kentucky Derby? This is actually something that, Kentucky Derby for me is something that I kind of get hyped up for it for some reason. I'll watch horse racing from time to time. It's a great calming show just to have something on in the background. Um, when they have on ESPN and Sports Center, when they have it all sporadic out. But you know, Kentucky, the Kentucky Derby kind of moving out here to northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, it's kind of really been something that has grown upon me. Something I actually wanted to take part and learn more and be a part more. In San Diego, we had the Del Mar racetracks, and every year they made it a big deal. What you're going to wear, what you're going to do, who you're going to see. There's also other events going on during the Derby other than just the horse racing. For me, I'd go for the horse racing, but then it's also a big gambling opportunity, a gambling site focused in, and just your luck on a $5 million investment can really turn things around here. So it's big. 152nd. I'm gonna definitely be tuning into maybe not watching the entire thing, but tuning into it. It's going to be on the TV in the back end of the day. I remember the first year I really got into it. I was building a 3D Disney Lego, not Lego, but puzzle, right? Where you had characters on it. It was a Disney castle with Disney characters on it. And I was watching, it was in my bedroom, was with my daughters, and my daughters were helping me build this. I saw it at I believe it was at Jungle Gyms, And I was like, I grabbed it, put it up, put it together, and we were watching the Kentucky Derby. And that was the first year it was like 2, 3 years ago. It was my first year. I was like, man, it was a really big deal. So it's it is a big deal. And it's kind of one thing as you get older, you just kind of enjoy a little bit more watching golf, watching Olympics, for example. Um, it is so the Kentucky Derby at Churchill's Downs, available on NBC and Peacock, also available on DirecTV. Post time of the race is set to run after 6:30 p.m., approximately 6:57. The field and odds: 20 horses are expected to compete with Renegade 5-1 odd, Commandment with the 7-1 odd among the early favorites, while Chief Wallaby 8-1 is a strong contender. Trainer to watch is Bob Baffert, returns for his entries, Potente and Litmus test, seeking record the seventh Derby win. If you guys are heading out to the Derby, parking and transportation, no on-site taxi or roadside drop-off/pickup is available at the Churchill's Down. Patrons should use a bronze lot and at L&L Federal Credit Union Stadium. Safety and security checkpoints will be active, and attendees can receive updates by texting Derby at 67283. The event is famous for his and encourages elaborate hats and spring themed attires. I'm gonna go so happy as a 6-1 odd, a strong recent with 3 wins in 4 races. I don't know if so happy has it this year. I don't know. Um, I will go. Let me just go with the safe bet. I'm gonna go with Renegade as the top closer on this. Post 5 historical has been strong, while 9 is of the last 15 winners started from the post 13 or wider. So the post position is also a very big trend. So Kentucky Derby 152 coming your way this weekend, May 2nd on Saturday. Begins at 2 p.m. on NBC. All right, want to just briefly just talk about, we have some football conversations here. Um, Earlier this week, the question lingered, what was next for the Cincinnati Bengals? We just got after the draft. We just got after uh, trading for Dexter Lawrence. We just evaluated and graded the Cincinnati Bengals for their offseason performance and their grade draft performance. And, I marked them and I still mark them as a B plus at best. And I feel like to get up to that A, they have some work to do, whether or not they sign a linebacker or they add Miles Murphy, which it seems like they're not going to pick up their option, his 5th-year option, but it looks like they may try to. They still want to increase him, but now you're offering depth at the defensive line position, and that's something that you have to kind of be careful about because still got Shamar Stewart, you got Dexter Lawrence, you got Allen, and great. We're picking up depth, but what else can we focus on? Because the defensive line wasn't the only issues that we had defensively last year. I feel like we're close from a solid offseason, and I think it's a win offseason. And it's funny, just 4 months ago, we were calling at the stakes for Mike Brown to make some sort of change at the realm. And it's easier to make change during the offseason, but it's not easy to make change during the regular season as you have to just see and wait for the outcome be able to reanalyze. One thing is certain is that the Cincinnati Bengals has listened to the fans, has listened to their players, and has addressed the issues up front. And the issues were clear: defense, defense, defense. Now, heading into this back end, the last thing I want these Bengals to do is to let the foot off the gas. And By not doing that, that may need to come into consideration if possible, which I don't believe why the Bengals wouldn't be okay doing this and why Joe Burrow wouldn't be okay is renegotiating his contract so that the Bengals have a salary cap that they could work with to sign one, two, three other players, right? So wrapping up this week, there's really nothing new to toss out there. I don't care what Duke Tobin, what Zach Taylor, what Mike Brown may say now. We may be done. We're more than likely wrapping up our offseason moves. I would never say that. If I was a manager or if I was an owner, I would always say we are always searching for the next best person who fits what we are about. There should be never a time that it is nothing to disrespect whoever is right now on the field and who we already got, but the answer should always be, it should just be a common answer to say, but the answer should always be we are never satisfied with the people who we have. We are always seeking bigger and better talented people. And if we could get those players at the right cost at the right time, then we will make the moves necessary. For whatever reason, the guys who we think, for example, throwing out there, Joey Bosa does not fit for the organization. That is at the decision or at the time frame. But to sit there and say that, we're satisfied with who we got, we're okay with what we got, that we are comfortable and confident that if the season, it's one thing you could say if we're comfortable and confident if the season began today, we're good with what we got. Yes, that's fine to say, but to say that we are done between now and July is something that I do not like to hear from anybody. Not from the Reds, not from the Bengals, not even from our opponents. It's just not a mentality. Also, something we'll probably dive in next week to talk about is Aaron Rodgers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have picked up an whatever is called tendered his contract. So if he does sign with another team, they picked up a draft pick for the 2027 season. Kind of played it smart, to be honest. He really been out there on the chopping block, but I still think that the Steelers need to really just throw the hammer at at the wall and say, "Look, you make your decision so we can move on." I wouldn't wait too much long. All right. Well, SmackDown is tonight. The road to WWE Backlash, which is May 9th, next Saturday, in Tampa, Florida, is set to take place. We already know a handful of matches. If I'm not mistaken, I just want to confirm. Let me just confirm. I know Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns will be confirmed for the World Heavyweight Championship. We also can confirm that Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker will go one-on-one, and then Io Sky take on Asuka. The feud that's kind of been going on for the past couple months on Raw will come to a head at Backlash in next week. But SmackDown is full of surprises, and we saw the upcomings from last week. We saw the debut of Fatal Influence, JC Jane, Fallon Henley, and Laney Reed made their presence felt, attacking Paige, Brie Bella, and Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss during the WWE's Women's Tag Team Title match. Also, we saw Jane had her official main roster debut as she faced the WWE Women's Champion Rhea Ripley in a non-title bout. Uh, it's announced that tonight, SmackDown, Jane is set to face Charlotte Flair in a singles competition. It's another tall task for Jane facing someone like Flair's statue. However, it presents for of Henley and Reed is going to be a huge factor in the match. I think this is a very quick and fast way to get Fatal Influence to assert their dominance in the main roster. They've done it in NXT. They've been dominant in NXT for quite some time, and they come out, they collect, they want to be well known. And how do you make a name for yourselves other than taking out the big stars? And who's bigger on SmackDown in the women's division other than Rhea Ripley, other than Charlotte Flair, and other than Alexa Bliss, and now Brie Bella and the returning of Paige. This is kind of like you'll pick on someone on your own side. We're gonna pick on you. Um, so it's great to see them. Love to see how they fit in. Plus, they were a great heel group that can really take a lot off of some of these younger or these older athletes as well. Henley and Reed, in the meantime, are eyeing shots at the women's tag team titles that are currently held by Paige and Brie Bella. Ricky Saints is set to make his debut on tonight's SmackDown in the main roster. His opponent has not yet been announced, but is going to be interesting match regardless. Ricky Saints recently brought up last year on NXT, has quick found to find success, and now he had his farewell match on an NXT back on Tuesday where he lost to Shiloh Hill. Now he heads to SmackDown. Um, Sports Illustrated said well, this is coming from Saints, who said on Sports Illustrated, "You guys repaid me with love, with stroke, with buying the shirts. With all of that, I don't think that I would even get this far had it not been for the people here, and definitely for the people in the back. If this is the last time that you see me in this NXT ring, then thank you from the bottom of my heart." It's a great statement that he's made. Other things that are advertising tonight, other than Flater Influence, it will be taking place at the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, according to WWE.com. Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, Drew McIntyre, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, and Randy Orton is likely to be at the show. However, all the shows are subject to change. The undisputed WWE champion also set to open the show tonight. The night starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's televised on the USA Network in the United States and on Netflix in other countries. Also, WWE is planning to go back to 2-hour programming beginning at the end of June, beginning of July. Something to keep an eye out for. I like the 2-hour program. I don't mind the 2.5 hours, but the problem is for the WWE, when you really don't have there's a difference between being entertained for 2 hours because it's filled with entertainment, filled with engaging material. What downgraded me back the night after WrestleMania was that there was 4 matches, and then I believe there was like 4 or 5 different promo cuts. So sure, take your time telling the story in the ring, take your time in the matches, let these athletes have declarating matches and tell the story within. Take your time with these promos so that it could resonate. Definitely don't overbook the programs to make it feel like you have to rush segments. But when you don't book enough and things move faster than you think it does, or you don't get the fans' reaction that you think you were going to get, it becomes stale. So to keep me invested, because I can't watch the Reds and Pirates, they're on Apple TV tonight, to keep me invested for 3 hours is going to be a tall task. Now, I'm going to want to tune in. I want to see what Cody Rhodes has to say. I want to see if he has any plans for WWE Backlash. I'm going to tune in to Fatal Influence to see how big they are going to be called up and taking on this big role and more. But have you sold me on a 3-hour show? And not precisely. So I like the 2 hours, and I think the WWE needs to do a little bit better talking about or helping the situation out with their match cards. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. We will be back Monday at high noon to talk about the weekend sports and what took place. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're on our YouTube channel, please have those notifications on. You can check out our MLB Road to the Show and MLB Franchise Mode, where we play as the Cincinnati Reds. You can also follow us on our Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram page. Get involved in the conversations that